That I'm going to gloss over because that is going to come up later this week in my worst books of the year. I hated it. Oh, that series, I'm so glad it's finally done. I think I gave that one 2.5 stars, and that might be aggressively kind of me. Characters and apostles that you will see in the Bible are actually not dead, they're vampires.
Hello witches, welcome back. Long time no see. It is the middle of December here, and I kind of stopped posting YouTube videos in the middle of October, so welcome back. I was going to start fresh in January, but I decided there's too much end of year sort of wrap up things that I want to go over, so I think that as long as I can get some more filming done today, so yes, you will see me looking exactly the same in the next couple of videos. I'm going to film some more this afternoon and have a video up each day this week going over sort of like recap stuff of 2024 and then my goals and plans heading into 2025. But I did not want to forget about my reading recaps because I did not do those for October or November, so I'm going to combine them into this one. And then later this week, we are going to talk about best and worst books of the year and what I am looking forward to reading in 2025 and my plans for that and everything. So let's go over my reading recap. In October, I read 28 books for 10,706 pages. And in November, I only read 7 books. I didn't even total how many pages that is. But it was way less in November. I just completely fell off that month. It is picking up a little bit this month, but I figured it would be easy to include all of those in this recap. And I think some of the books in October definitely led me into a slump in November, but there are going to be books from October and November that are going to end up on both my best list and my worst list. So it was kind of all over the place. So let's start with the witchcraft books because I don't have as much to go over in that area because a lot of them you already heard from on the podcast. So you kind of got an idea of what the books are about and my thoughts about them. So first up on October 1st was Secrets of Romani Fortune Telling by Paulina and Jez. They were both on the podcast and I know that you all really liked hearing from them. So if you are interested in that Romani history and the different types of fortune telling that they do, and like it says, the Secrets of Romani Fortune Telling, a great read. You also heard from Judica on the podcast talking about Witches, a compendium, and we talked about lots of Judica's old works, and like I mentioned, her giant book that is behind me in all of my YouTube videos. There it is. This honker is Judica. So she was another one talking about the Witches Compendium book. 2 that I read after that were not on the podcast. First of all was Lazy Witchcraft for Crazy Shitty Days by Andrea Samayoa. And that is a really interesting read for witches who don't have a lot of spoons to give for whatever reason. So it really is, like it says, Lazy Witchcraft for Crazy Shitty Days. So you know you're going to get swearing in it. You got to be okay with that. And Andrea creates content online, so you're probably already, familiar with her style of speaking and writing. So you should know that going into this. And then it's just for when life is busy or you don't have the energy for whatever reason to do any sort of elaborate spells or rituals. That is a great resource to sort of walk you through doing simple things. And then we had Sea Magic by Rieka Moonsong. I did not love that one as much. I think it was interesting what was in there. So if you are interested in dabbling in sea magic and sea witchcraft, then you might find that interesting, but it really is like a surface level. It's a very short book. I think it was 160 pages, so very quick read, and it's just sort of dabbling in a bunch of different topics related to the sea, ocean, water magic. And I think if you already know that information or already practice those things, then nothing in this book is going to be new to you. So if you're looking for a more well-rounded book on that topic, this one's not for you. I also had the Poison Path Herbal and the Poison Path Grimoire by Kobe Michael. Talked extensively on the podcast about that as well. So if you are interested in poisonous plants, baneful plants, and how those could be used in your witchcraft practice, definitely check those out and check out that episode because we talk about a lot of different resources in there. And lastly, I read an arc from Kelly Miller, the Guided Numerology Workbook, and I ended up giving this one 4 stars, and it comes out towards the end of January. There is already a guided astrology version of this, so you can kind of get an idea of what the numerology version is going to be like. But numerology, we usually think of like life path numbers where you add up your birthday and get it down to a single digit. So, you know, if you're born on January 1st, 2000, it's 1 plus 1 plus 2 plus all the zeros. And that would add up to 4. So your life path number is 4. And it says, you know, lots of different information about what your life path could look like and your personality type based on that. But there's so much more to numerology than just that. There's so many different numbers, like personal numbers to you to calculate based on your birthday, your name, just all kinds of things that I was not even familiar with, like of all the different ways that you could calculate these different numbers. So interesting. So I found that fascinating because I think numbers are fascinating. So I think that could be a good read for a lot of people to check out when that comes out at the end of January. And that was all of my witchcraft books that I read in October and November. Let's go ahead and dive into the fiction books. I am not going to go over every single one. I'm going to give you highlights of like, you know, highs and lows, and the rest of them I will just throw up some star ratings for you. I read The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman, and this came out in 2008, so it's an older one. It is middle grade fantasy, and I had so much fun with that. Perfect to read in October. And it's definitely that like middle grade macabre, like Coraline, who is the same author. Neil Gaiman wrote Coraline. So if you've seen the movie, or like Nightmare Before Christmas, it's that sort of style of writing. So I had a lot of fun with that one. Another middle grade fantasy, I read Wrath of the Triple Goddess by Rick Riordan, and that's a continuation in the Percy Jackson series. Rick Riordan has tons in the world of Percy Jackson, has lots of different characters that he's following, different mythologies. And Percy Jackson is the original, and I wanted to read through all of them this year. So this is actually a continuation. So Percy Jackson was 5 books originally, many years ago. And then just recently, in the last couple of years, there has been a new addition to the lineup that Rick Riordan is writing in that series as they age up a little bit. And this is following Percy trying to do some trials for different gods and goddesses in order to earn recommendation letters to get him into college. So it's been just fun continuing in the world. And I think Wrath of the Triple Goddess is the second, and I think it's supposed to be a trilogy. So there should be one more coming. I read Impractical Magic by Emily Grimoire, and that I'm gonna gloss over because that is gonna come up later this week in my worst books of the year. I hated it. No Place Left to Hide by Megan Lally comes out January 7th. Predictable YA thriller with like a Gossip Girl style cast of easily hateable characters. I hate every single one of them, so 2.5 stars. The Language of the Birds by K.A. Mearson. This comes out in May, and anything that has like a particularly pushed out publication date, if I really enjoyed it, I will remind you next year before it comes out. So this was YA National Treasure meets Da Vinci Code, 3.5 stars. Starling's Weave by L.E. Sterling, 3 stars. Seekers by Heather Graham, a great October read, but only 3 stars, mystery thriller. The Otherwhere Post by Emily J. Taylor comes out in March and is definitely one that I will remind you of. If you are a fan of Divine Rivals, first one, or what's that other one? Study in Drowning. I think that you will like this. Love the magic system, want more of it. It's about like, you can only travel between worlds if you can write these magic letters. Love. A little bit of uneven plot pacing, but a very like sweet romance, very cute. So I will talk about that one more when it is coming out in March because I think a lot of people are gonna like that one. The Serpent Called Mercy by Ruan Lau. Also comes out in March. I give that one 3 stars. Could maybe be potential for some people. I didn't love it as much because it is very character driven, and I don't always love character driven books. I like more plot, and it is absolutely not for animal lovers. A Tribute of Fire by Sarah Wilson. That came out in November, and it is on Kindle Unlimited. I gave this one 4 stars. It's slow in the middle, a little bit predictable, but it is a fun time. So if you like those Kindle Unlimited fantasy romances, read it, but also wait because you're going to want to get to the second one, and that is not out yet. That is not out until late in 2025. So if that's gonna bug you, I would wait. I read Double Blind and Ivory Bones by Sarah Winokur. Ivory Bones comes out, I think, in February, but it's just a continuation of the first one, and this is from an Icelandic author talking about Iceland. Really interesting, lots of history, lots of just, facts about living in Iceland. So that was like kind of fun in that way. The first one felt definitely like school, like textbooky. The second one did a little bit better about that, but I did find the relationships kind of weird, but interesting read overall, like 3 stars all around. I read Goldfinch by Raven Kennedy just to finish out that series. I'm so glad it's finally done. I think I gave that one 2.5 stars, and that might be aggressively kind of me. One that I did not anticipate loving as much as I did, and I feel like you're only going to love it if you have like left Christian Catholic religion, and that is The Blood Gospel by James Rollins and Rebecca Cantrell, and this came out in 2013, so this is nothing new, and I think it is the start of a series. I have to look into it and see if I want to finish the series, but I ended up giving this one 4 stars, and it is like Jesus blasphemy, like no notes. I had a great time. The premise is mostly that a bunch of the characters from the time of Jesus, not Jesus himself, but like a bunch of the characters and apostles that you will see in the Bible are actually not dead. They're vampires. So they're still alive now, and lots of like historical figures and stuff, like Rasputin is one of them that comes up in the book, that he's not dead, he's a vampire. I loved it. It's like, it's not written to like be funny. It's like sort of like, again, Da Vinci Code style writing. And I don't know why I loved it so much, but like I keep thinking about it, and to me it was great, hilarious. That's like supposed to be hilarious. It is like thriller, but I loved it, and so I might continue on, and that just based on like what a good time I had with that one. Next up, The Sisters Arcana by Salima Ishq, and 4 stars. So that actually came out officially yesterday, and that is a thriller, and it's based around tarot cards. So I think a lot of witches are going to like that, and one of the sisters that's presented in it is like an Instagram influencer of like reading tarot cards and things that like we would all be familiar with. So I thought that was an interesting take. I liked it in like the setting of the story, like the main characters, like struggles and relationships with her family. In real life, her family is toxic AF, and like you need to run, girl. But in the story, it works. I read Rose House by Arcady Martine because I want to read a memory called Empire. You're going to see that is on my 2025 TBR, the first and second one. I think the second one is A Desolation of Peace, which both get high reviews, and I actually got them for my birthday. So I have them, going to read them, but I wanted to read from the author first, and Rose House has been out. I believe that came out last year, but I actually did not like it, and I think I'm just not like enjoyment. I just don't have enjoyment for that like speculative fiction kind of like style. Whereas a memory called Empire is more in the line of like Gideon the Ninth. So I think that maybe I'm going to like that one more than Rose House. Also in the Rick Riordan world, I read The Sun and the Star, that also follows one of those Percy Jackson characters. I read books 2 through 4 of The Marriage Auction by Audrey Carlin, that is on Kindle Unlimited, and I talked about that when I talked about the first one. And yes, I'm only giving them 2 stars, and I read through all of them. They should all be one book. There is no reason to have split these into 4. It is a ridiculous time romance. Nothing else to say about that I didn't say in my first one. Unpopular opinion, but I loved Metal Slinger by Rachel Schneider. People, they really hate this. Like if you watch Carrie Can Read or Covers with Cassidy, they really did not like this. Like Carrie really hated it, and Cassidy just like had a good time reading it with a friend, but like overall like 2 stars for the books. I loved it. I cannot explain why I did, because I don't disagree with anything that either of them said. It is like terribly written, huge plot holes, things not making sense, but I still loved it. I can't explain why. I don't know. So I thought it was a good time. If you also like those fantasy romance on Kindle, you might want to give it a try, because I think reviews are really split on this, that people are like, I really loved it, but like I realized that there's bad things about it, and then people really hated it, and it's going to end up on a lot of worst books of the year's list. I did finally get through An Echo of Things to Come by James Islington, and a spoiler, in the beginning of December I finished the 3rd one. in that Licanius trilogy. And I love that trilogy. I love James Islington. Most people have heard of The Will of the Many, and I am absolutely looking forward to the second book of that series, and The Will of the Many absolutely is better than this first series, but I still loved this one. So if you like that epic fantasy world building, I do agree with some of the critiques of his first work that it's a little lengthy, wordy where it doesn't need to be, and things that he fixed in The Will of the Many. So if you want to like go back and see his earlier works and how he has gotten better as an author, I still think it's fantastic. Like overall, 4.5 stars to the whole series. Cozy fan row mystery. If you like that genre, Winterfrost Market would be perfect for this time of year by Jenny Sandiford. Fate and Fury by Emily Collin just came out, and that is a romantasy as well. And that had a really interesting magic system with like elemental witches, very Slavic based, Slavic inspired. So if you are interested in that, overall, I gave that one a 3.5. I think it was pretty good, but I do think that there are some problems there that I hope would get fixed in like the next couple of books, because it is going to be a series. But I do think the magic system and things are worth checking out in there. And the last one I will end on, I didn't even go over all of them. I feel like it's long enough already. So I'm gonna end on Silver Elite by Danny Francis. And this is one that I will remind you again next year when it comes out, because I think it is in May. This is dystopia. And that's just one of my favorite genres, because, you know, we were raised on Hunger Games and Divergent and all of that. So I really like dystopias. This I am giving a 4 stars to, because I think I had a good time reading it. The plot moves quick. We are in a post-apocalyptic world where the radiation caused some people to have mutations, and now they have powers, but they have a new government in place, and the new government king hates the people with powers. So he is trying to destroy all of them or enslave all of them. So she has been kept hidden by her uncle for many years, but then all of a sudden her uncle is captured by being part of the resistance, and she is caught, but she is able to hide her powers really well. They just think that she is better served, because she's such a good marksman, better served in what's called the Silver Elite and joining their military, basically. They just don't know that she's such a good marksman because it comes from her powers. So she is just surrounded by all of these people who would just as soon kill her if they knew everything that she could actually do. And of course, her love interest is her instructor in the academy, and he is, of course, the king's son that wants to kill her. So very divergent vibes going on here, but I still had a good time with that. So I think my other Divergent fans will as well. So that is one that I will definitely remind you when that comes out next year. Okay, that's it. I wanted to get this one out today, and I didn't want to end the year without going over my October and November reads. For December reads, I think I will just highlight that quickly in a January video to go over my final year stats. But I have things on my December list that I have read in the last 15 days that are going to end up on both the best list and the worst list. That will be like the next couple of videos coming out, so I will talk about those then. But that's it. It feels so strange to be back here in this space. I did like to slide this bookcase over a little bit, but I have not filmed in so long, like sat down in front of the camera and recorded anything. So it feels very strange to be here, but it feels nice to get back to it. So thank you for being here today and checking out the videos, hopefully, that are coming this week. If you are brand new here, then I hope that you will like this video and subscribe and stick around and wrap up the end of the year with me. And that's everything I have for you. I will see you tomorrow. Fingers crossed.